Hey guys, Lindsay Lumpkin here. Just wanted to take a few minutes to introduce myself and tell you where I'm from and a little bit about my life and my background. So I'll start with where I live. This is Odessa. I frequently get asked where we're from, where that's located. So I thought I'd just pull up a map. We are lovingly called or known as the armpit of Texas. Then I'd like to introduce my tribe. This is who I do life with. So right up here, top center, this is my husband, Eric. He works for Southwest Airlines. My stepfather and my mother, Monty and Janet Flippin, oilfield sales, and my mom has been in education 30 plus years, I think 36 years, and she's gone from special ed to transitional specialist. She's worked for the state as an educational consultant, and then she is currently our district's coordinator for career and technology education. My stepbrother, who's right underneath me, this is Max, and his wife, Andrea. Max is in oilfield sales. Andrea is an elementary special education teacher. And then there's Jake, and there's Kyle. And then this is my stepbrother, Michael, and his little boy, Highway. And Michael's an underwater welder and rescue diver. And then over here to the right is my baby brother, Ross, who's in the ministry and has his own ministry called I-61 Ministries in Dallas, and also runs and works with rehabilitating men who have been addicted to drugs and other things back into society. And so it's a pretty cool endeavor. And then his wife, Audra, who was a former elementary school teacher, their son, Zeke, and their daughter, Aria. And then here in the middle is my best friend, Hillary, her husband, Kevin, and my godson, Weston. And then right here, this is Traveler, and she traveled into our heart. She's our rescue baby. And then this little guy is our German Shepherd, our 3-year-old German Shepherd, and his name is Ruger. And so they're the love of our life. So I'll be moving on into the education reform that we are doing the screencast for. I'll start with ESSA, or the Elementary and Secondary Acts. It was given to us in 1965 during the presidency of Lyndon B. Johnson. Commitment of quality and equality is kind of their saying. It provided all students, especially underprivileged students, an improved educational experience with additional funding and resources. I didn't realize, but it was reauthorized 8 times, so I found that quite interesting. Then, as it was reauthorized, this was kind of a nation at risk kind of came in to play in 1983. I was born in 1980, so I would have been 3 at the time, and President Ronald Reagan signed this one into law. It was proposed that schools were failing their students and marring our nation's world placement compared to our global neighbors, where our rank fell next to China or Germany or Finland or whomever. So there was a huge sense of urgency that we needed to get something into our educational system that was going to really reform it and really challenge students, but also support them and hopefully help our nation out a little bit. Its focus was to place emphasis on content, raise those expectations, increase learning time in the classroom, and also reward educators for the hard work they put in. It basically laid the foundation for the federal role in education. So moving on to the next one that I truly, I taught under, was probably more effective than any other, than the others because they weren't involved in the time that I was teaching. So this one came in 2002, and I actually began my teaching career in 2003 under President George W. Bush, and it was basically had new measures given to educational system to expose achievement gaps and in efforts to close the gaps. So the No Child Left Behind in 2002, President George W. Bush was famous for, provided new measures given to educational system to expose achievement gaps and efforts to close those gaps. More of a basic one-size-fits-all type of intervention. The idea was that the federal government still had authority and mandated states close achievement gaps, and that 100% of our students would pass on state assessments. So I remember when it came out, it was quite daunting and everybody was pretty terrified of it. But Every Student Succeeds Act was the next one, the ESSA that is current. It was signed into office by President Barack Obama in 2015. It allows for states to have more autonomy in terms of accountability. States are expected to submit accountability plans to federal government agencies, stating their goals on how they would improve proficiency on tests, graduation rates, English language proficiency, and closing achievement gaps for all groups. The next slide shows where I've been in my educational journey from where I was born through high school graduation, college, receiving an English bachelor's degree, alternative cert, teaching experience in high school and junior high, then to Region 18, a principal and assistant principal, all the way over here to the test and state assessments that we were given. And something that might be interesting is where those correlating reforms kind of fell into my life, my timeline. Basically, as you can see, that there's reform efforts, they've changed in education as requirements in both positive and negative ways, and not one reform intentionally meant to negatively impact education. It was just given that several reauthorizations of ESSE, that the federal government recognizes that they don't always get it right. We hope that ESSA will encourage states to take hold of their schools and determine how to close achievement gaps through rigorous academic standards and monitoring. And no matter what, there's just no silver bullet when it comes to school reform, but it's through trial and error that we continue to pursue greater ways to reach excellence. And here are my references. And Dr. Wiseman, I look forward to meeting with you and meeting with our cohort, and I just appreciate your time. Thank you very much. Have a great one. Bye, guys.